Martins.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroot Chat, another episode with me, the captain and the host, MC Sabi Boy. And today we have a special guest in the building. And not Dwayne, it's definitely not Dwayne P. Frank. We're talking about Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve, thank you for joining us. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
We're all good, man. We're all good. Thank you for giving us your time. Dwayne, show some appreciation to the big man, please. Say welcome.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
All good, all good. So as we like, it's about time. Definitely about time. As we like to do here in Grassroot Chats, we jump straight into it. And me with my wandering mind, I'm always wondering about stuff because I always feel people don't see these things that I see. So the first thing I'm going to talk about this week, or the question I want you guys to please educate me, enlighten me, teach me. It's a wonderful watch for the neutral. It's a wonderful watch for people that don't even watch football. And it's a wonderful watch for anybody, especially if you win, when you watch Leeds United play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people talk about how it's so exciting, it's refreshing. Then they work so hard, they never sit back. Um, they have a wonderful, work ethic, blah, blah, blah. My question is very simple. With the way Leeds season is going, they're not going to get relegated. But really, how can we sit here and tell ourselves that Bielsa is a world class manager based on that defense? What do you think, Steve?
Their their brand of football is exciting until they get relegated. Then everyone will be saying it's too gung ho, and everyone will change their tune. Um, the fact that he hasn't addressed the defensive frailties is beyond me, because even the goalkeeper, he has some good games, but the basic mistakes that he's doing, it's always going to be a liability to me. And I get some of the bits a lot of the managers say about him being a world-class manager and stuff, but there's just gaps in their team, significant gaps that, to me, if you're going to build anything, it's got to start from the back. And the back has got a lot of holes.
What do you think, Dwayne? Because I know you're a big fan of Kevin Phillips. You like the way the Leeds team address other teams. You like to watch them play. But why is Bielsa looked at as a world class manager? You can't have that defense and surely be classed as a world class.
First and foremost, Kevin Phillips is a former Sunderland player. So let's get that straight. The man's name is Calvin Phillips. Don't mess up the man's name.
That's
okay?
true. That's true.
Calvin Phillips. Right? Now, here's the situation that we have at Leeds United. As Steve clearly pointed out, they are arguably one of the most entertaining teams in the Premiership. But again, you've got to agree with Big Steve here. You have to start from the back. The issue they have, no disrespect to the likes of Click, to Ayling, to who they know they pushed Dallas in midfield now, haven't they? Right? But no disrespect to these guys. But they're not good enough. You know this. I know this. Meslier. What's he doing there at the back as a goalkeeper? Is he better than what Fulham have with Ariola? No. We know this. This is the sort of guy who should be at Leeds United helping them out. But we've got to say at the same time, if Leeds United finish between 10th and 15th, because that's where I predict that they'll actually finish in the league table, that's a good season. You got to remember they've just come up. I think people were looking at them and they're saying this guy should be going for Europe. No, they shouldn't be going for Europe. If they finish between 10th and 15th, I'm happy as a Leeds fan. I love watching Leeds because they're the most entertaining team in the Premiership. You know, you're guaranteed if you go Ellen Road, you're going to see goals. I saw the game the other day against Arsenal. What was it, 4-2, 5-2? Madness.
Yes, as I said, it's amazing to watch as a neutral and it's wonderful. But regardless of watching how wonderful the football is and blah 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 blah, the question still remains: as a manager that's been around and he has coached some good teams, why is he classed as world class with such a leaky defense? Yes, if they finish 10th and 15th, yes, oh, they're a team that just came up from the championship, blah blah blah, playing wonderful football. But that doesn't make the manager world class, though. What do you think, Steve? Because how can you're an Arsenal man?
Yeah.
And you have been supporting Arsenal for a long time. And at the peak of when Arsenal was playing very good football with Wenger and everybody else, your defense was in this league. You actually had one of the best defenses in the league with Tony Adams and all those kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Thing is to build any successful team, you got to have a good defense. And I don't know if he's regarded as world class because of his approach to things and tactically how he can change things to like stifle opponents as well as impress what he wants his team to do. So he's a bit different to how other managers have approached football in the last few years. But again, it points back to the defense. I don't know much about his teams pre-Leeds. I know he's managed, but I don't know the details of the teams he's managed. But to hear people like Guardiola, Klopp talk about him in the way they talk about him, I'm trying to see how it translates to Leeds. Could another manager get as much out of those group of players? Probably not. He's got a group of players there that he can impress his style and will on them to make them play the way he wants to play and be successful. So that's probably where his quality comes in.
That's a big argument, though. That's a big argument because if you look at other managers, for example, one that comes to mind, Brendan Rodgers. You look at Brendan Rodgers, what he has done with Leicester. Yes, Leicester is a good team, but you can tell that he has actually improved the team going there with his style of play.
Yep.
The same thing when he was Swansea manager, he became Liverpool manager. He got Suarez in, changed one or two things, and he improved the style of play. Once again, you can argue that the different caliber of players. But most of these managers have always wanted to play tap football, work hard. They always build the defense, which is why I don't understand why Bielsa is pretty much trying to build it from the top or from the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Calvin Phillips, what do you think?
Right. This is the thing. I'll tell you straight. My thoughts. I don't think he's a world-class manager.
What do you think he is then?
Right. I think he's a manager who obtains respect. In La Liga, I can't remember who he managed. Was it someone needs to correct? Was it
Atletico Bilbao?
He worked perfectly with Atletico Bilbao because the way that they are, already having the Basque players and so on and so forth, they are incredibly disciplined anyway. The way that Bielsa works is all about discipline. It's all about hunger. It's all about work ethic. You know, you don't stop running. You see the same thing with Leeds United. It works. It works. I would be very intrigued to see him with world-class players as to what he can do. Because stereotypically speaking, world-class players, the majority of them, do not have the same work ethic as he would want. So I'd be very intrigued to see how his style of football would work with the likes of Messi. You're going to tell Messi to run around for 90 minutes straight? I think not. It's not happening. I'll tell you that for free. You're going to tell Mohamed Salah? No, it's not happening. Aubameyang? Go take a running jump. I'm going to eat my pounded yam and I'm going to enjoy life. That's what he's going to say to you. So I would like to see what you'll be able to do with these players. However, we're not probably going to be able to see it because I don't see him having the opportunity with such world-class players.
But based on what Steve, based on what Dwayne has just said in terms of getting world-class players to run and work hard, I see that as 50-50 because if you look at the Liverpool squad, they're constant press, constant running. Yes, you could say they have 2-3 world-class players, or you could say they have very good players and a couple of world-class players. But either way, Leeds are outrunning everybody, playing good football, but they're not top of the league based on that hard work. So, and then if you call world-class players, are we saying you don't have to run around to beat them? So that just tells me his style of play isn't particularly penetrating anything above a particular level.
The thing is, the difference, say, for like a team like Leeds and Liverpool, is that Liverpool do a press, but their players know the functional positions that they need to be. So Liverpool press like Mane, Salah, but they don't have to do it for 90 minutes. They can afford the luxury to do it as and when needed, and save their energy. And then people like the midfield, they can allow Trent Alexander and Robertson to go down the flank because defensively they still keep a shape. Whereas Leeds, and they've got better quality defenders when Van Dijk and that's there to manage that. But Leeds, you can't do a full-on press with average defenders or an average goalkeeper. You need to maintain that defensive structure. So when your team does push on, a couple of central defenders and at least a midfielder has to sit and be really disciplined in their positional sense and everything.
Steve, you're sounding like a world-class manager right here. You sure we're not trying to take Bielsa's job? You sure? We can forward him this video. But I mean, in a nutshell, Steve, you support Arsenal. If
Yes.
something happens to Arteta, would you want Bielsa to be the manager?
No, I don't think he will take us forward.
Dwayne, would you like Bielsa to be the manager of Villa?
Yes, I would gladly have Bielsa. This is going to shock you. All right, I would gladly have him as our manager. And the reason why is because you look at the players that we have. We have a lot of what I call grab players, right? You look at the likes of McGinn, who will run around all day, every day. Jack Grealish, contrary to what people think, he will run around all day, every day. Why? Don't forget he's a Birmingham boy. Don't forget Villa's his club. He will do anything for that club. Right now, with the likes of Barkley, perfect guy to have at your club. Why? He's desperate to get into the Euros. Is he going to get there? We don't know. He's going to do everything he can. Watkins will do exactly what Bamford is doing. He plays every 90 minutes. We have players who would actually suit Bielsa. And I would arguably say we would do better with Bielsa than, sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I don't know if it's Bielsa or Bielsa. But I think we'd definitely do better with him than what we're currently doing with Dean Smith.
So
I've got no issue saying that.
So in a nutshell, Steve, is he a world-class manager? Yes or no?
No. No.
And Dwayne, is he a world-class manager?
I'm sorry, no.
Okay. Well, all the Leeds fans that might listen to this, well, if you have any issues, let me know. I know where these guys live. I will give you the addresses. And
it's fine. They're not scum from.
And you
they're not scum from. It's all good.
And you can sort it out. I personally think he's a good manager. I just feel if you have such a leaky defense, it will catch up to you at some point. And I feel that work ethic you give your players at a certain point, they will gas out. I mean, if you look at them in the championship, they start very well. And the season before they actually came up, they started losing legs because of the amount of games they were playing and that high intensity. But we'll see.
Just before you move on, another reason why I would actually want Bielsa at Aston Villa. I don't know how Steve thinks about this, right? But for me, I've always thought the manager will always have a big reason as to why players come to your club. I don't think you would have seen the likes of Rafinha going to Aston Villa if they had Dean Smith. I'm sorry, let's not disrespect Dean Smith too much. But I think there's a reason why he obtains a certain caliber of players. We look at Ancelotti, for example, at Everton as well. Look at the guys he's been able to obtain, the Rodriguez's, and what have you, those sort of guys. I personally think Bielsa would bring that level up. So for me, it's not just about his style of football that he'll bring, but I think he will bring the improved players as well. Because the majority of the time, players come to the manager. My personal opinion.
All good. Well, you're right. Managers sometimes attract players. I mean, Rodriguez wouldn't have gone to Everton if we didn't have.
No way.
If we didn't have, So.
Alan from Napoli. No way.
Cool. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for that little break. We have another special guest in the building. Another Arsenal fan. Him and Steve are very, very wonderful friends, as they never seem to agree, which is I'm so happy Mike is joining us at this point. Mike, how you doing, man? You're good?
Yeah, I'm cool. Good.
Nice. Welcome to Grassroot Chats. So moving on quickly, we were discussing to see if Bielsa was a world-class coach, and Steve and Dwayne don't agree that he is, even if they gave some good reasons as to why. But moving on from that topic, the next thing I want to find out, and I really need to understand, is Phil Foden. Phil Foden, wonderful. Stockport Iniesta, as Michael Richards calls him. He's been playing wonderful. He's been playing well, and people are already looking at him as, without any argument, young player of the year. Now, my question is very simple. Why is Phil Foden a better player based on what he's doing for Man City than what Saka is doing at Arsenal? At least, why? why do you think that comparison is being made? What do you think? What do you think, Mike?
Well, first of all, I don't think he is a better player. I would say that because based on impact on the team, if Phil Foden doesn't play for Man City will still play well. It's not as noticeable. They've got players to replace him. If Saka doesn't play for Arsenal, apart from the impact on the team, even the fans notice it. He's albeit Man City are in a better position, they'll win the league. Therefore, Foden will win Young Player of the Year, blah blah blah, and he's a contender. But in terms of consistency and impact, Saka's been doing it for 2 seasons now, and he's doing it in a team, dragging them up. Because without Saka, for a lot of times we wouldn't have been nowhere near where we are. Well, not that we're anywhere anyway, to be honest, but we wouldn't have been as good as we are. And a lot of that is down to him raising his game and making others raise their game. So for me, he would be Young Player of the Year, but I think Foden will get it.
Well, Steve, Saka is, part of the Arsenal team, but somebody can actually make an argument to say that even with Foden playing in a star-studded team better than Arsenal, he still stands out. So isn't that the bigger argument as to whether he's a better player than Saka?
I don't think he stands out as much. I kind of like echo what Mike would say. Foden's a good player playing in amongst world-class players. So he's around those guys training. They're full of confidence and everything. Saka, he's in the middle of a mess. The whole club, top to bottom, is in transition, but he's still managing delivering performances. Another thing about Saka, he plays multiple positions in this same side and shines every time. So his knowledge of the game seems to be broader. He's got a better appreciation of positions. But Foden, to me, the acid test would be if he wasn't at Man City.
Yeah, but it would be difficult to judge that because he is a Man City. But what I'm trying to understand here is, personally, I would rate Saka just a tiny bit higher because if you're comparing the players for both teams and Saka being able to hold the team up, Arsenal is not going for the title, but they're still going, pushing forward as the season is going on. I would think Saka has been very pivotal compared to Phil Foden. But then, Dwayne, if you look at them player for player, who is a better baller?
Oh, if we are talking about baller, it's Phil Foden. I'm sorry to say. It's got to be Phil Foden here. Now, in regards to this guy, and this is what I feel Phil Foden is not getting enough respect for. He's got a better right foot than Saka. I've got to say it. He's got a better right foot. Right? So, in regards to what I'm looking at as far as, sorry, it's still going. I'm seeing Mike, I'm not seeing. Apologies. Yep. Yeah. So, in regards to everything, I'm looking at what he's doing with his right foot. I'm seeing this guy cross the ball. I'm not seeing Saka do this, right? Now, in regards to ball, we're talking about technique. If we're talking about bringing the ball down, if we're talking about ball control with running with the ball, I'm going with Foden. I'm not even going to debate this one. I think Foden is 100% a better baller. If we're talking about impact on the team, I've got to agree with Mike and Steve, 100%, 100%, as far as being concerned. But if we're talking about who's the better baller, yeah, it's Foden.
Look, I know, Mike. I know you're itching to jump in there.
Please, once more. Come on now.
I know you're itching to jump in there, but do you agree? Do you agree? First of all, what I don't understand is what a left or right leg has to do with being a baller, Dwayne.
Right, it doesn't have anything to do with being a baller. I'm talking about. I've pushed it even further about who's the better complete player. Okay, so I've gone even further than who's the better baller. Right, if we're talking about who's the most complete player, I'm going with Foden. If we're talking about style of football, I'm going with Foden. If we're talking about aggression, I'm going with Foden. If I'm talking about better header up, I'm going with Foden. Basically, I'm going with Foden, man.
All right. So, Mike, what do you think in terms of? So, Dwayne has given his reason why he thinks Phil Foden is a better baller, better player, and all that story. Do you agree?
No. But let's rewind it real quick. So, Dwayne talked about Foden being a baller. First of all, Foden's a baller, full stop. So let's agree that right now. With regard to using his right foot better than Saka, I can't think we can even talk that because we've seen Saka make assist with his right foot. So I wouldn't even count that as a reason to make somebody better than somebody else. Headering and all that sort of stuff, I don't really think we can really compare that either, really. Doesn't really make anything. The one thing you mentioned about him being a more complete bowler, the argument you could argue, well, would that not be Saka then, because he's played multiple positions, as Steve said, very well. So I mean, the difference between the two, I think, really are negligible. It really comes down to a personal preference of the way they play, and basically maybe even who they play for. So I mean, they're going to be close. They're going to be, for me, they're going to be first and second. Personally, I think it's Saka because of the impact he's made. I think the pertinent question is, would Foden have the same impact? If the roles were reversed, would Foden have the same impact on Arsenal as Saka did, and vice versa? If Saka went to City, would he stand out?
Good question, Steve. What do you think?
I'd just like to take a step back. Is that one thing we're not comparing is that Saka's 2 to 3 years younger than Foden as well. Saka's only 9. Saka's just turned 19. I think Phil Foden is almost 22. Yeah, and been in around that Man City side for a while now. So the fact that we're even comparing them says a lot for Saka and the impact he's had on football. If roles were reversed, I don't think Foden will be able to impact the Arsenal team the way Saka does. And Saka being at Man City, he's a different type of player. He'll probably have the similar impact as to what Foden's having there now. He wouldn't be missed by the side if he's not playing, but he will give them something different if he is playing. But the key thing is the other way around. Will Foden have the impact Saka does? Don't think he will. Foden, to me, will just be a younger version of, I don't know, a Mesut Ozil who can pick the ball up and make nice passes and stuff and dictate the attack and thread passes, but he's not going to give you so many different things in different positions with energy and the dynamic ability that Saka does. Saka just brings a lot of energy to the side. Running off the ball, passing, doing 1-2s. He's a really good player, man. And the fact that he's 2-3 years younger than Foden, by the time he's 22, if he keeps going, mate, who knows?
But the thing now is that, so I'm not big believer in terms of maturity personally, based on the fact that Saka actually plays a whole lot of different positions. I would actually pick him regardless of age in terms of maturity. But then based on the comparison with these players, it takes me to my next comparison, which I feel it might sound strange because people will start calling numbers, oh, what he does with the ball, blah, blah. But we're talking about impact and style of play. And I would really like to know, if you could pick one player for your team between Maddison and Grealish, who would you pick, Dwayne?
Come back to it.
No, I want to hear what you want to say. I'm not coming back. Maddison or Grealish?
Okay. I don't think it's even a debate. I think you've got to pick Grealish. I was very pleased to hear. I thought they were a bit melodramatic. I thought they were too much. The comments that Martinez made comparing Grealish to the likes of Messi, which he did last week, I thought that was a lot, because we're talking about a living day legend, shall we say, being compared to. But the fact that he's being compared to someone like that, I do think it is now being shown that there's a gulf between Grealish and Maddison. I really think there's a gulf there. I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about leadership skills, which I think he has a lot over Maddison. I genuinely do think he. How do I put this? He's clearly the go-to guy at Aston Villa. Majority of the time, the likes of McGinn, Barkley, what have you, they get the ball, they want to get it to Grealish. No disrespect to Traore, to Trezeguet, and so on. But he is the go-to guy. He is the talisman, and I think what's scary playing against Grealish He reminds me of you lot will all remember. Do you remember when Blackburn had Morton, Gaz Pedersen, and Bentley?
You were sick,
right?
Both of them.
And it was a situation where, because you can play with your left and your right foot, you didn't know which way to go. You bring them, you show them the outside, they'll cross it with their left foot. You bring them inside, they'll bend it in with the right foot. I'm not saying Maddison can't do that, because he can. But Grealish, I feel, is so much more impactful. Even watching him, I don't want to talk too long because I want to hear what everyone else's thoughts are. But even watching him playing for England, he didn't look out of place either. He didn't look out of place. And I personally feel his style of football, I would love to see him play in Europe. I feel like he would walk into certain teams, certain elite teams in Europe. I don't feel Maddison would. I will leave it to the rest.
Well, the thing now with this is that Grealish has been given a chance with England. And yes, he took his chance with his entire life, played really well. Maddison hasn't. But in terms of impact to the team, there's no argument that Maddison is the number one player for Leicester. A lot of people say Vardy, which is true, in terms of goal scoring. But in terms of dictating play, impact, numbers, goal scoring, being missed if you're not in the team, surely Grealish is not that way above Maddison. What do you think?
Wait, before I react, because
don't react.
You're trying to get me today.
Don't react. Don't react. Your name is in Mike. What do you think, Mike?
I don't want to agree with Dwayne, to be honest, but so I'm not gonna agree with him. I'm gonna say what I want to say. So Grealish,
the camera froze.
Oh, is it? Grealish,
Yeah.
Grealish is the top player, yeah? I would ask the question before I comment but everything goes through him. Everything goes through him. The team's basically built around him. So yeah, he's bound to shine and look like a Messi. He's been doing it for a while. I think he probably, if the original question was who would I have in my team?
Yeah.
Down to who would I put in my team? Yeah, I'd pick Grealish, just purely because I like the way he plays. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily, because it depends what you want for your team. So the type of player that you want. So if I had to spot my team on that left side, I'd pick Grealish. If it's central, I'd probably still pick Grealish, to be honest. I'm trying not to agree with Dwayne, but actually, yeah, it's Grealish. It's Grealish. It's Grealish.
What do you think, Steve? What do you think? Who would you pick?
So, if it's just a straight pick between the two, it would be Grealish.
Not fair.
But the difference between the two, for me, is belief. Yeah. Grealish reminds me a lot of Matt Letizia at Southampton. Really fantastic player at that type of club. Put him at a big club with big club pressures. I don't know how he would. I don't know if he would be the same player if everything's not going through him. Yeah, how does he affect the game in little spits and spats? If he gets the ball 5 or 10 times in a half, as Mike says, at Aston Villa, everything goes through him. What kind of player is he going to be if he's not getting the ball as much? Maddison seems to have more to his game in terms of adapting to that kind of role, not everything going through him and just turning up and doing something special. He's got a lot better being under Brendan Rodgers' management. I think signings like Tielemans playing next to him has helped him, and Didi as well has helped him. But I just think he lacks belief, which he's starting to get now and starting to show more of. If he had a big head like believed in himself and thought he was the dog's bollocks, he'll be a lot better player as well and show it as well.
So all three go for Grealish, which is reasonable. It's understandable. I understand that numbers help with these situations, but sometimes when you watch these players, and look, I mean, I've seen both of them play live, and you can see. I mean, I'm not saying you don't see it on TV, but there's a command and presence that Maddison has, which he doesn't need to hold the ball and take on players. He can do that with one pass. Whereas Grealish should take the ball, attract 3, 4, 5, 6 players towards him and do that same thing. But I feel sometimes Maddison, with that release and that quick thinking, I think he's a bit overlooked every now and then, which I don't understand why. But everybody
I
pretty
think,
much everybody pretty much picks Grealish.
Yeah, but it's
I
going to
think,
highlight, isn't it? Go on, Steve.
yeah, I think the higher the level of football, the more effective Maddison will be over Grealish.
Yeah.
Because top players, they'll suss Grealish's game out pretty quickly. He needs to get the ball, and he will have the ball for a few seconds to affect the game. Where, as you just said, Maddison will get the ball, ping, one pass, and he can split a defense. Grealish doesn't do that often. Not say he hasn't got it in his locker, but the style of play that he is pick up the ball, dribble. There's no surprise that he's the most foul player in the Premiership because you always got the ball.
Yeah. If he goes Tottenham under Mourinho and he gets iced on the bench for a couple of games, would he be the same guy when he comes on? Would he play the same role? I don't know. He's got the ability to do it, but it's more than ability, isn't it? It's mentality as well. So big fish in a small pond, yeah. But really starts fish in a massive pond. Time will tell.
Oh well.
But, yeah.
It is all good. Well, to bring us to the wonderful, nice closing chapter, the next question I want to understand is very simple. The quality of striking in the modern day game, is it becoming obsolete in the sense that most teams that are playing really well have one striker, and where you in that one striker, is pretty much close to way above talent. It's close to exceptional. If you look at all the big teams, Bayern Munich, Lewandowski. If you look at what's it called, Arsenal, Aubameyang. If you look at Man United at the time, now Cavani. So, but then when you look at the other teams around Europe, like the Man Cities, Barcelona's, Real Madrid, yeah, they still have Karim Benzema. But when you look at it from the low, because back in them days when you had lower teams and you had the Hasselbanks, you had James Beattie, and you had every team pretty much had a striker, an identified striker to say, you know what, this guy's coming to town tomorrow. Be careful. So with this force nine playing and everybody trying to play from the wing backs, would you say striking is becoming obsolete? Would you think in the next 5 or 6 years, most teams will actually have a striker? You just have a forward, somebody that can push forward. Liverpool have a number 9 that doesn't even score as much goals, but he does assist for his forwards. Is striking dying, people? What do you think, Dwayne?
I think without a doubt, this is one of the stupidest questions you've asked so far in the history of Grassroots.
Okay.
The number 9 is going to be there for a very, very long time. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Mm.
If you look at the world champions right now, well, we've got Bayern Munich, mentioned Lewandowski.
Yes.
Okay. Now we look at you can argue the full process with this, as in the last world champions or UEFA champions with Liverpool, and they used Firmino. I get this.
Why are you arguing?
Wait, hold on.
Why are
Was
you
that the
arguing,
question?
why are you arguing the thought process if the question was stupid?
Right? No, because I don't really. You know what? I don't even want to ask the question. I don't even want to. At the end of the day, for me, Mike, wait. For me, it's simple. Our number 9's going to be obsolete. I've got no comments on this because I think it's a stupid question.
What do you think, Mike?
I think Dwayne needs to take a chill pill, first of all. Second of all, I feel like, yeah, the striking role is evolving. So the goal emphasis is more on wing play, whether that be wing backs or whether that be those Mane types, Salah types. There isn't that typical Ian Wright getting there or Van Nistelrooy type player. They're becoming, so yeah, you're right, they are becoming more and more, not necessarily obsolete, but they're becoming more and more rare. But that's because of the way that football's changed. But you will always need that option, whether that's your first option. And also it depends on the team, because like you say, Aubameyang for Arsenal, we're looking for a focal point, or even like Lacazette to a degree. And Leicester with Vardy, Kane at Tottenham. So some teams will have them. So it depends on what philosophy of football you adopt. But most teams are moving more and more towards that.
Yeah, but if you listen back, what I said, if you look at the teams that actually have strikers, they have exceptional strikers.
Yeah.
They don't have. I mean, if you look at Man City, for example, Gundogan has been playing the top role. He's not a number 9. He's not a
No.
striker. But because of the way of the style of play, I mean, I pretty much believe if City plays anybody because of the way they play in that middle, they'll probably have
Yeah.
almost the same impact.
But those players are not being produced as in, well, maybe they are being produced, but they're not being bought as much. So, for example, I'm sure Liverpool would love to have love for Firmino to score 25 goals, like he's supposed to be doing, but he's not. But I'm sure when they replace him, they will replace him with somebody who can actually do that job.
Yeah, but when Liverpool went out to buy, they pretty much bought forwards like the Jotas and who else did they buy? Can't remember. And they actually have a striker on the bench called Origi who hardly ever plays.
He's not a striker.
What is he?
He's SBC fodder for FIFA. He's just there, doesn't do anything.
What do you think, Steve?
I think striking is becoming more specialized. That's why you're seeing it's like a golf. You got people like Aguero, Vardy, but when you look at their backup, there's a big gulf in talent between the two because teams are playing a certain way and trying to. So the emphasis is more on the specialized striker, and the team gets goals. It's not just about one person playing to one person's strengths.
Yeah, but when you look at teams like, for example, Arsenal and Aubameyang not scoring, when he wasn't scoring for some time, there was that worry in the sense that our top guy, our top striker, is not scoring. If you look at, but as I said, it depends on the style the team is playing.
Yeah, but a team like Arsenal, it's a worry for us because no one else is chipping in with the goals. But if you take Aguero out of Man City, there's lots of other men that's going to score goals. It's a pretty similar to if you take Son and Kane out of Tottenham, who else is going to score their goals? Because of the way they play. They rely on the striker, whereas teams like Man City, Liverpool, it's more all-round. So Firmino doesn't have to get 20 goals in the season because between Mane and Salah, they're probably going to get 40.
But Steve, don't you think all of that, like I mentioned about those players aren't produced anymore, or at least not to the forefront? You know, in the old days when we used to play 4-4-2 and you always had a big man, little man, you had two actual wingers and then two actual wingers. And now we don't, nobody plays 4-4-2 anymore. So, so in the production of how players develop and are produced, they are produced and develop on the way football's played at the time, right?
Yeah. So it's a different type.
When you had a 4-4-2, you wanted to be Michael Owen or whoever. You play like that. Now you want to be like Salah, Mane, then you're not going to play like a forward. You're going to be tricky on the wing. That's just the way. So then there will always be a Cavani or type player because the way you play is the way you play. But they are less sought after. And also now you only need one, whereas before you need 3 or 4. So when Man U had strikers left, right. Even Man City, they had 4 strikers at one point when they first started.
Yeah, Balotelli.
But now they only need one. So
True.
So even if there was a striker out there that they could fit, they would only go for one. Then they got Jesus as a backup because it's and for me it's supply and demand. Those guys aren't as in much demand as they used to be because of the way football is played now.
So in other words, the question still stands: is the game evolving to the point that because the game has been evolving over the years, where now depending on what you have, that because I'm pretty certain that certain teams, even with top strikers, will still want to buy the likes of Salah and Mane.
But yes, the answer to your question is yes, essentially, for me.
So with time, no strikers, pretty much.
No strikers, but the prevalence will be for those forwards. So you'll be getting forwards for 90 million, and you'll get a striker maybe now for the 30 to 40s because they're not as important, and you only need one. Because if Salah's scoring 30 and Mane's scoring 30, and Firmino's scoring 9 or whatever he scores, you don't really need a striker for that team. Not all teams, but some teams that's how they'll play.
Yeah, and I think the some teams the striker has to how can I say evolve his game.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at Harry Kane now, he has to drop deep, he has to supply, he's doing more than what he was doing 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. So the strikers, especially at top clubs, will have to evolve and change their role.
If Aubameyang, he doesn't just go ahead and tap it in anymore. Well, not that he ever did. He has to change his game.
You'll still get strikers like at clubs like, I don't know, lower down the league, like at Burnley, Fulham, who are playing a traditional striker target man kind of role. But generally, football will evolve. Football is evolving and has evolved over the last, since Barca started doing that false nine business.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that in time it won't come back.
Yeah,
come back to having a striker one day. Maybe, probably worse.
It's a bit like goalkeeping, isn't it? Now everyone wants a goalkeeper that can play, that can do more of his feet than he does with his hands. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have thought that.
Well, it is all good. Anyways, Mr. Mike, Mr. Steve, thank you for coming on today. Mike, you were late, but it's all good. It's all good. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Dwayne, for your very wonderful, contribution in this last topic. I mean, not understanding the situation makes it stupid. I get that. I get that. Anyways, gentlemen, thank you for being on Grassroot Chats, and we talk to you.
Thank you.
Soon.